followed us since the beginning of this channel, only last year, you know that a band that we've always heavily talked about, for a while was Killswitch Engage.
Indeedy.
This is a band that I think the songs have a lot of meaning to us overall, and this is a band that definitely shaped the music taste that we have now.
Yep.
Absolutely, no question about it.
Yep.
So the last time we really talked heavily about this band was actually a year ago, pretty much, when we saw them.
Guys, Killswitch Engage.
That new record coming out. However, something has changed in the last year. Not for both of us, but for one of us. Something has changed. Where one of us doesn't really care for this band anymore.
I'm just too much of a hipster. I have to wear
that one is
wool hat
Josh.
on the inside of the house now.
Something has happened to where
cool.
He doesn't like this band anymore. But I told him, I said, Josh, this band has meaning for you. This band is a big deal to you. I said they have a new album coming out. I said give them one more chance before you decide you don't want to listen to them anymore.
Throw the band hammer on them.
That time is now. So we have here,
The time is nigh.
finally, the reviews that we've been anxious for a while now. This is Incarnate by Killswitch Engage.
Alright, John.
Now, I ask you, Josh,
Is this a coaster? Yay snay or nay snay?
did this album bring you back to being a fan of this band, or did it do quite the opposite?
No. Did the opposite.
It did the opposite. Alright, so I'll allow Josh to explain his side.
So here's why. So Killswitch's last release was Disarm the Descent. That album was huge because people were waiting for a Killswitch release for like a while. And the album was attempted to be very ambitious. It was a different kind of album than they had made before. So going into Incarnate, it's wondering, what is this going to be now? Is this going to be like Disarm the Descent again, or is it going to be something like Alive or Just Breathing, where, for me the songs were a lot more memorable and differentiated. On Disarm the Descent, I found it to be all the songs were just very fast and just very similar. Going into this, I had a lot of doubt after that record. This record, first of all, is kind of ambitious for them slightly, in that they tend to try to go towards more melodic idea. Like the Killswitch usually goes for melodic stuff,
Right.
But on this record, they almost seem to have more of a deathcore kind of atmosphere at times. Now, I've heard people compare it to In Flames a little bit, and I can kind of see that, or maybe a little bit more successful version of what In Flames maybe has been trying to do for a while now. The main thing that inhibits this record for me is Jesse.
Really?
Yeah. In that the record seems to be written in a sort of, at times, in like an old styling that maybe Howard would have done a lot better. Now, I know a lot of people get pissed off about the whole Jesse and Howard thing, but I'm only using Howard as an example because Howard did have a large versatility, and the band was accustomed to being able to do that. And so I think that at times they still write that way, and Jesse is not as versatile as Howard was. So at times Jesse doesn't really have very good cleans. So at times it almost ruins the dynamic of the song because it's too much. I think the songs could be better if they had somebody. Now, lyrically, the album is pretty good. It's a very positive album, so you can't really say too much about it in that regard. I mean, Jesse does a good job of writing pretty positive lyrics, but I think in terms of just his overall performance, not saying that he's a bad vocalist, I'm just saying that in this particular dynamic, Jesse just didn't fit. So the beginning of It Falls on Me has this really interesting kind of like slurred guitar part, and then once Jesse comes in, it almost completely breaks everything that they just did. It completely disrupts the dynamic of what they've done there. The guitar writing, it's what you're gonna expect from maybe Killswitch. I mean, it's less dynamic for me than their older material, but it also is it's better for me than Disarm the Descent in terms of the guitar writing, because in a way it reflects almost a little bit of older Killswitch writing. I don't know. I just think that the band's time is over.
My take on it is Disarm the Descent was the comeback album for this band. It was the album where I think they had to reestablish themselves, especially with having their old new singer back in the band essentially. So that was an album that was, you know, really fast and really trying to bring back what Killswitch Engage is. Now it's a decent effort, the last album. I mean, it's overall good release, but with Incarnate, the expectation was a lot higher because this band has had Jesse back in the band, you know, for a number of years now.
Since 2012.
Yeah, so, and you know, they put out Disarm the Descent a year after that.
Right.
So there was a lot more expectation with Incarnate.
Right.
And I expected a lot more different material than I got with Disarm the Descent. Incarnate, it starts off extremely strong.
What's the third track? Is the other?
Cut Me Loose.
Is Cut Me. I hate that song. I'm sorry.
See, you don't like that song, but I find that song to be, it showcases that Jesse's a lot better singer than he used to be. I mean, you question his vocals, but he does sound way better than I think he's ever sounded before.
But
he's trying to be something more.
Right.
But
he's never sounded good.
But I find, especially with the first 8 songs on the album, I said, wow, I said, this is actually exactly what I expected after Disarm the Descent. I said, so a lot of these songs are unique, and I said, Incarnate has enough consistency to where it might be one of this band's best releases. However, you get to track 9, you get to In Falls on Me.
Yeah, right.
The record loses me.
Right, that's a tough song.
It loses, I think the last 4 songs on the album, it loses its consistency of starting off really, really well. I think the last 4 songs, I mean, are not terrible songs, but I think they're maybe a little bit monotonous, and I think they've already done what the previous songs on the album had been doing before that.
Yeah.
So
That's for what happened for Disarm the Descent with me. I mean, and that song, for some reason, man, the last half of this record, especially, is hard to deal with. And I say that in a way that tries to give them respect for their older material, because I do admire their old material.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, it's not like one of those. It's not like we have to take them out behind the barn and put them with Old Yeller. But the ideas are used up. You know. When they started, they were pioneers in this genre, and nobody had really done things like they were doing, you know? And so, you know, what do we get now that so many people have ventured into this and been inspired by them, and a lot of the ideas have been used, you know? It's that question again of how much a band can evolve before they become something completely different, and lose their fan base. And you know, they're just stuck in this. There are walls to this, and I think a lot of times people in this genre forget that there are walls here that, you know, that they do attempt to kind of go over, but just seem to not be able to.
It's a strong album, I said, but the last quarter is not consistent. It's up in the air.
It's just that, you know what one thing on this though, and people are gonna hate that. People are gonna get mad, but like for me, there's not one song on this record that, like, I would want to play or put on my iPod, because their older stuff is just something is just not the same. Like something's gone. So, like, for me, that's just my take on it. Oh no.
Our next couple of reviews that we're gonna have for you, we're gonna be doing Monomarth's new album, Yam's Viking, and Asking Alexandria, The Black.